You have to hear some music when you come to New Orleans. Welcome to David and Rachel's Traveling Adventures. For my birthday, she gave me a surprise trip to New Orleans, but I didn't even know the destination until the day of the trip. She planned the trip so that it would be just like the show. Our amazing race would include clues, a detour, a roadblock, and a pit stop, just in our own style. In part one of our amazing race to New Orleans, we ate beignets at Café de Monde, we visited the St. Louis Cathedral and Jackson Square, we took in the museum-like atmosphere of MS Rao, and we ate dinner at Mural's Jackson Square. You could see all that in our Amazing Race New Orleans Part 1 video. After dinner, we went back to our condo for the night, which was our pit stop. Rachel booked us into a great little location called Blue 60. We stayed in the porch suite that gives you a lot of privacy. The suite has a very whimsical feel to it, both in the bedroom and in the living room. It was a joy to stay here for 2 nights. The owners were extremely helpful, and they would check in with us occasionally to make sure that we were comfortable. One of the best treats of the room was our nightly guest, who the owner says loves visiting the porch suite. She was a little cutie, and we loved her nightly visits. Now on to day 2 of our amazing race. My first clue of the day provided me with a description of a New Orleans iconic voodoo queen, MarieLaveau, with a task to go to the Louis Armstrong Park in Conga Square. And next I was to go to her store, where I was to take a picture of myself holding something that belongs to a raccoon. It was a 20-minute walk to the Louis Armstrong Park in Conga Square. Located at 701 North Rampart Street, Louis Armstrong Park lies on 32 acres. It contains the New Orleans Municipal Auditorium, the Mahalia Jackson Theater for the Performing Arts, and several buildings owned by the New Orleans Jazz Historical Park. The park is named after the famed musician and native son Louis Armstrong. There are several works of art in the park that celebrate jazz, which has its roots in New Orleans. There is also a giant statue dedicated to Satchmo himself, Louis Armstrong. This park was a cool place to visit, but boy was it windy and cold. Next to the park, and fittingly so, is Conga Square. Conga Square is where it all began for the makings of jazz. In the 18th century, Louisiana's French and Spanish colonial era, enslaved Africans were commonly allowed Sundays off from work. Although they had the day off, there were no laws allowing them to congregate. However, they often gathered in remote and public places such as levees, in public squares, or anywhere they could find. It was not until 1817 that the mayor issued an ordinance restricting any kind of gathering of enslaved Africans to one location, Conga Square. By 1819, the gatherings in Conga Square numbered as many as 500 to 600 people. These African cultural expressions of music and dance gradually developed into Mardi Gras traditions and into the music world of jazz and rhythm and blues. Louis Armstrong Park and Conga Square are listed on the National Register of Historic Parks. MarieLaveau was a regular in Conga Square, where she would lead voodoo dances. Laveau was a free woman of color in colonial New Orleans, and she was a dedicated practitioner of voodoo as well as a healer and herbalist. She was known to have attended prisoners who were sentenced to death, where she prepared the men's last meal and prayed for them. One reporter from the New Orleans Republican once detailed one such visit in an article published in 1871, in which he describes MarieLaveau as a devout and acceptable member of the Catholic Communion, which was quite a surprise. She would seek pardons and commutations of sentences for prisoners, and she was often successful in her efforts. For my next task, I was to go to the store MarieLaveau's House of Voodoo, and I was to take a picture of myself holding something that belonged to a raccoon. Let's just say it was a body part that was supposed to give me luck, and it wasn't a foot. However, at MarieLaveau's House of Voodoo, I wasn't able to film in the store, and we were unable to find the rather vulgar raccoon part either, so you will just have to check it out for yourself. So it certainly is an interesting little store, I might say, to walk through with the various dolls, trinkets, and other voodoo figurines. My next clue was a detour clue that gave me the opportunity to choose between 2 different restaurants nearby. I chose Mambo's. Located at 411 Bourbon Street, Mambo's offers up New Orleans comfort food cuisine, including po' boys, oysters, and other seafood items. It's not fancy dining, but wow, those gator bites were awesome. When we were looking up things to do in New Orleans the night before, there were two things that intrigued me, including riding on a riverboat on the Mississippi and seeing the location of the Battle of New Orleans. We found the perfect match on the riverboat Creole Queen. For $36 each, you can take an informative boat ride from the Spanish Plaza to the Chalmette battlefield location in the Jean Lafitte National Historic Park, which is the site for the Battle of New Orleans. The entire trip lasts 3 hours with a 30-minute ride to the battlefield and about an hour on the site before the boat heads back. As a side note, you can easily walk from Jackson Square to the Spanish Plaza, which is located at 1 Poydras Street, by walking along the Mississippi River in Woldung Park. Our historical guide for this trip was Charles. On the way to the battlefield, he provided a historical talk on the founding of New Orleans, which was very entertaining. At the battlefield, Charles told the story about the build-up to the battle and the battle itself. And on the way back, he gave a private talk on post-Katrina, which was the hurricane that devastated New Orleans. He was an outstanding guide and made the trip worth it. The Battle of New Orleans is one of those battles I knew little about. I only knew what I learned from the 1959 song by Johnny Horton called The Battle of New Orleans. The Battle of New Orleans took place on January 8, 1815, between the British Army, under the command of Major General Sir Edward Pakenham, and the United States Army led by Brevet Major Andrew Jackson. The battle took place 18 days after the signing of the Treaty of Ghent, which formally ended the War of 1812, but had yet to be ratified by the United States. The British outnumbered the Americans by almost 2,000 men, but in the end the Americans were victorious with only 62 casualties to over 2,000 for the British. Andrew Jackson's use of the terrain, understanding and use of well-known pirates, along with missteps by the British, helped make this a resounding victory for the Americans. After the cruise, we went back to the French Quarter to get a drink at Pat O'Brien's. Pat O'Brien's, located at 718 Peter Street, is well known for their hurricane drinks. I remember my parents coming to New Orleans and having a hurricane at Pat O'Brien's when I was a kid, so I thought it was appropriate to do it myself and give a toast to my late parents. The drinks were fantastic and the music throughout the bar was enjoyable. We wanted to stick with eating New Orleans cuisine on our trip, so we ate dinner at the Gumbo Shop. It was crowded and filled with locals, so we knew we were in the right place. It's casual dining, and in terms of cost, it's a great deal for the food. The red beans and rice were a hit, and we've already tried to emulate the jambalaya recipe at home. Not nearly as good as theirs, but we're working on it. You have to hear some music when you come to New Orleans. So we topped off the evening by venturing into 3090 at 520 Frenchman Street and the Marigny Brasserie at 640 Frenchman Street. At the former, we had a couple drinks and we were entertained by an R&B group called Piano Man G. This group makes its rounds all over New Orleans, and they offered some energetic, loud, and fun R&B music. After that, we also took in some classic New Orleans jazz at Marigny Brasserie. The music made you feel the soul of this wonderful and classy city. Our amazing race has come to an end, but we had a blast. Every place that we ate, everything we saw, and everything we did was absolutely perfect. New Orleans is truly an amazing place to visit even for a couple days. If you stay near the French Quarter, you really don't need a car. Everything is within walking distance, or you can take a ride on the trolley. If you have any other suggestions and things to do in New Orleans, please put them down in the comments. If you like what you see, please smash that like button and subscribe, and we'll see you soon on another adventure.